this topic today on self-care is actually one that is super close to my heart because I've always had this kind of belief, I guess, even if subconsciously, that to need self-care or to feel like, I deserve self-care feels a little selfish in a way. And weak. I think that's the biggest issue, is that it feels like a weakness. But I don't believe that to be true. It's just the internal dialogue, the internal emotion that comes up for me when I think about self-care for myself. It's something that I believe that we all need. I was going to say, especially as women, but that's just because that's my experience. But I think that as human beings, we need self-care. We need to understand ourselves to the degree that that we know what we need and that we feel okay about tending to our needs. Anyway, all of that to say, I'm going to be looking at my notes because, like I said, this is research that I've been doing, a topic that I've been delving into for myself, and I'm just going to be sharing with you what I'm learning and what's coming up for me along the way. So to define self-care, to start with that, in terms of this talk today, at least, it is caring for ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then to align our lives with who we really are, and aligning those self-care practices with our life and who we really are. And what I do know for sure is that big change doesn't happen in an instant or in a particular moment. For me, there was a particular weekend seminar that gave me a couple of aha moments, but I didn't walk away from that weekend feeling like a changed person. But what it did do was spark the beginning of change. Personal growth and transformation happens over time in tiny shifts, in little moments over time. And that's why one of the biggest things that we need to facilitate that is a coach, a mentor, and then a supportive community. And that's why I created the New Women's Entrepreneurial Collective. It is a paid membership, and it is for women, mostly of midlife, that are now tending to our own needs. We have spent our entire lives tending to the needs of everyone else, which perhaps was our calling. It felt like a calling for me to be there for my family. But now that my family has grown and gone, there's been a number of changes in my life besides empty nesting. Who am I now without that role? And that's what we all need to figure out. Whether you're leaving corporate, who am I now that I'm not that corporate person, that professional? Who am I now that I'm not their mom? We're always their mom. Who am I now that I'm not in that career that has always defined me, or in that life position that has always defined me? But we are worthy, we are enough, and we are an individual. We're the same person we've always been. We're just not in that role anymore. So we need to figure all of those things out. And that's what the personal growth journey helps us do, which is why we need a coach and a community, a supportive community. Because anytime you're learning something, whether you're learning to paint or ski or anything, if you're learning to do something, it's 1,000 times harder if you're trying to learn it by yourself. And you're less likely to actually master that thing without the input from a coach, from others who are also doing it. We need that outside perspective. It's the can't see the forest for the trees kind of a thing. So it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need help. And I think that we all need it. Personal growth is like fitness in that you will not go to the gym over a weekend and have a transformation physically in the same way you will not visit a personal growth seminar or masterclass and experience that transformation and that internal fitness that we're seeking in a weekend. It's an ongoing process. It's a lifelong process, really. We're lifelong learners. And the moment you stop practicing your physical exercises for your physical well-being, that physical well-being will begin to atrophy and dwindle in the same way that our personal growth will halt and perhaps regress if we stop our personal growth journey. So self-care. The biggest thing that holds us back as entrepreneurs especially is our own psychology. So the more that we can look into our own psychology and make a study of our own psychology, the better off we'll be. We are our own chokehold of our business. So we need to examine examine the psychology, the self-talk, and the self-beliefs or disbeliefs that are going on inside of us. The more that we can surround ourselves with people who will remind us of these things, the better. So even though we're strong people, we can overcome, we can push through and persevere. Even though that is true, we really need to take care of ourselves and to nurture ourselves. Pushing through just because society says it's normal is not healthy, and self-care is not weakness. Krishnamurti, there's a quote by Krishnamurti who says, "It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." So that's kind of deep, kind of big, but it's so true. If we are trying to be well adjusted to this society that is sick to begin with, that's not a measure of health. We really need to trust ourselves, which is our first concept. And the first thing we're going to look at is trusting our body, trusting ourselves, and appreciating our bodies. So when we look into a mirror and we view ourselves through the mental constructs of society, that's when we fall into that trap. So we really need to just trust ourselves, trust our body, that we don't have to give it all away. We don't have to try so hard, that we're enough just the way we are. And our body wants to help us to meet our desires. Our body is beautiful. Human beings came out of this body, and it's an amazing machine, and it allows me to experience the world in my own unique way. So loving my body is definitely one of the hot topics for me. So thinking about how we can create space and time in our own lives to listen to our body and to appreciate it, and to look in a mirror and say, I'm splendidly imperfect, and that's okay. The next idea is to say yes to ourselves. And when I do, I experience positive results. So when we say yes to taking care of ourselves and getting our own needs met, what does that give us? So if you, actually I've talked about this before, when you feel like, if you ask yourself the question, what do I need right now? Is it a cup of tea? Is it a walk in the park? Is it a phone call to a friend? What do I need right now? So if we can just take a moment to stop and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? But don't stop there. Take action on that. What do I need right now? I need a walk in the park would really do me good. Well, stop what you're doing and go for a walk in the park. If you have a full-time job and you are unable to at that moment stop what you're doing, the next time you have a break, take a walk outside around the building if that's all you have time for. Go do the thing that nurtures yourself. What do you want to say no to more often? So there's the idea too that we need to set boundaries. If you are taking on projects, if you are taking on social activities that aren't a hell yes, and that are even perhaps I don't know, but you're doing it because you feel an obligation or just that maybe you should, maybe we need to say no more often and only say yes to the things that are a hell yes in our lives. So being able to create more space for ourselves and for our own needs and meeting those needs. The next idea is about energies and drains. Now I have a course on discovering your values, and one of the lessons inside that course, which you can find on Udemy, it's called Discover and Live Your Personal Core Values. Discover, name, and live your personal core values. One of the exercises in there is a drain and fill exercise, and that speaks to this next point, which is your drains and your fills. There are basic needs, which are eating, moving, sleeping, and our own mental training, and that's that our own psychology piece. Are we eating right? Are we moving our bodies and getting enough exercise? Are we sleeping enough? I think this one is huge. And are we doing that mental training? So often as entrepreneurs, we're learning all of the things, we're doing all of the things, and we're trying to grow ourselves, but are we sleeping enough, or are we taking that, I've got 2 hours in the evening to myself, I can get a couple more hours of work done? No, let's put it away and take care of ourselves and actually get enough sleep. And then doing our own mental training. What I love too is Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning Savers. Silence, affirmations, and visualization. And to me, those things can kind of all go hand in hand. Silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, whatever that looks like for you, reading, and scribing, which is really just writing or journaling out or writing down your intentions for the day. If you don't consider yourself a journaler, don't call it journaling. Just write out your intentions in the morning and your what went well at the end of the day or something like that. But we can also take it further into relationship time, spending time to nurture those relationships in your life that are important to you, time to play, time for your own spiritual practice, and time for just being alone in silence, time for you. And then thinking about, what does giving yourself those things, if you are caring for yourself through what you're eating, what does that give you? If you're eating more nutritionally, and oftentimes that can be just the tiniest simple step of drinking more water, drinking water first thing in the morning. When I'm feeling low energy during the day, starting to feel a little bit sleepy at my computer, one of the ways that I combat that is chug a glass of water, because it really is the best energy drink. And then moving. If you don't have an hour in the morning, do you have half an hour? Do you have 10 minutes where you can go for a quick walk around the neighborhood, just to get a little bit of exercise in your day, walking to work, walking on your lunch break, Just, are you moving your body? Are you getting enough sleep? What does it give you if you take time to do these things? If you make time to do those things, what gifts does it bring to your life on a daily basis? The next big idea is, it's the same big idea. Energy drains and energy fill and drain. We can leak energy just by procrastinating on the little things that aren't getting done. And I love this big idea to create a list of incompletions. Sometimes we need to, it's a declutter, right? To declutter those little things that are nagging at the back of our brain because they're undone. And if we can just clean that list up of all of those undone tasks and chores, why are they undone? Are they super unpleasant? Why are we procrastinating on getting those things done? Oftentimes there are things that when we do them, we're like, man, that wasn't so bad. Don't know why I waited so long to do that. But if we can clean up that list, then we make space in our head and in our heart for the bigger things. So that's the last thought about energies and drains. The next idea is making self-care a way of life and scheduling it in to be just as important as the main priorities that you want to get done in your business. And if you do that, what does that give you? This is something I have struggled with so many times. I have pushed out exercise because I need that hour to work on my business. But what I know is that when I exercise, it gives me more energy and more stamina and more creativity because I spent that time. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but I struggle with it periodically, always. I go through periods where I'm making time for exercise, and then it's so easy to fall off of that wagon and go, I can spend an extra hour on work this morning if I skip the exercise, and then that kind of becomes easy to do. But really, I know if I take time to move my body, I have more energy, I feel better about myself, so I show up better, and it all is a cascading effect. So how can we cultivate the things like just a breathing exercise, a gratitude practice, mindfulness activities? How can we make those things, those aspects of self-care, a natural part of our day or an intentional part of our day? Even if sitting in meditation is not your thing and you don't want to do that, doing something like taking a walk, like folding laundry, like pulling weeds can be a meditative practice. And if we just think about keeping it simple, forget what the norms are and do what works for you. I think that's great. A quote by Rumi: live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. So here's the other thing. Even when you have the best laid out plan for your day, it's going to get tripped up because that's life. A friend of mine just flew back from the East Coast to the West Coast and experienced this massive delay due to weather originally. Then after that delay, one of the pilots was over their time limit for work, so they had to switch out pilots, which created more delay. And they sat on the tarmac in an airplane for like 5 hours and never went anywhere. She still had to fly across the country. However, if you look at experiences like that, it certainly didn't go as planned, and it wasn't ideal and it wasn't pleasant. But if you change your perspective and approach it with curiosity, and that this is where ask better questions and you'll get better answers. This is why, because if you're like, I wonder what the opportunity is, what's the bigger yes in this frustrating event? It doesn't make it less hard. It's still frustrating, but you will find different aspects of that opportunity when you're asking, what's the bigger yes? If you're asking that question rather than focusing on how it sucks and why is this happening to me, those, you're not going to get good answers when you're asking that kind of question. But if you approach it with curiosity and ask, what's the bigger yes here? What's the greater opportunity because this is happening and I can't do anything about it anyway? And if you can't do anything about a situation, then do something about how you look at it, how you approach it. The next idea is to start and end your day in a right way, in a positive way. And by right, I don't mean right or wrong. I just mean optimal, in an optimal way. Do you have a morning routine or an evening routine? I don't have necessarily an evening routine other than, you know, put my pajamas on, brush my teeth, wash my face, go to bed. I guess that's routine. But what I love is the idea from Brian and Alexandra Johnson of a digital sunset. I haven't achieved it yet. I'm working toward it, but I really love the idea of choosing a time of night, especially if you're in a relationship and in a family. If as a family, you have a digital sunset at 6 p.m., I'm thinking dinner time or something, or 7 p.m., where it's maybe after dinner, especially if you have teenagers, let them have a chance to catch up with their friends or whatever. But you have a digital sunset where all devices are put away. You are really either just spending time as a family or by yourself on some of these self-care things, and really unplug and get in tune with yourself and with each other. I love that idea. I have not yet achieved it, but I'm working on that. Let me know if you have an evening routine and what it is, and whether or not you might implement a digital sunset for yourself and or your family too. But a morning routine, here again, the Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod's book, where he has the life savers: silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. It was an S, writing, reading, and journaling. Those are 6 practices that Hal Elrod discovered that pretty much all successful people, successful being entrepreneurs or just in life in general, have at least one of these practices in their life. And he thought, what if I did, these are the 6 things that he discovered people do. He thought, what if I do all of that every morning? And that's how the Miracle Morning was born and was created. He started implementing all of those things, setting a 10-minute timer for each thing, so that at the end of an hour, he's done all 6 of those. And I happen to know that 10 minutes of exercise for him, I think he does a lot more than that. But as part of his morning routine, he gets on his bike for 10 minutes and he zips around the neighborhood. You can get kind of far in 10 minutes on a bicycle. And you could probably go a couple of miles actually in 10 or 15 minutes on a bike. And then come back and he's feeling like he's had the wind in his face. He's pumped up his legs, moved his body, was out in nature, spent some time just getting things moving and in exercise. And wow, it really is so energizing. So in 1 hour, you can even do 5 minutes each of silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. 5 minutes each, you're half an hour. And if I think it's crazy to say that we can't carve out 30 minutes to take care of ourselves. That's crazy talk. We really can. It's just a matter of, will we, right? The next big idea is journaling. And again, if you don't consider yourself a journaler, really think of it as writing down your intentions. What is your intention for today? I intend to feel joyful. I intend to feel loving. I intend to make connections. here's where those three core value words can come in for you. I intend to connect, I intend to be curious, and I intend to explore more. Those are my three: connect, explore, and curiosity, be curious. And if I make an intention each day to do those three things, then at the end of the day, I can ask myself, did I connect with someone today? Did I act on my curiosity today and explore something today? And if I've done those things, then I've lived out my purpose for that day, and it's been a good day. But what I need to add into that is self-care practices. So if you have a morning routine of what's your intention, how can you practice self-care today? And what are your top three priorities for getting things done? The top three things that if you do those three things, today will be successful. You can have the other 7 things on your list of 10 things to do, but what are the top 3 that you must do? The other 7, they can kind of get pushed to the next day. It would be nice to get those things done, but it's not critical. But the top 3 priorities of the day, and do those things first, but schedule in those self-care practices as well. And then 3 things I love about myself. And this is really about changing the narrative inside our own head and the negative commentary that so many of us don't even realize we're doing. I know if I tend to lose things or misplace things, I should say, and then spend time looking for them, especially, I would say most often actually, when I'm traveling, because I don't have my, my system of where I always put my keys, or the keys was the most recent thing that I experienced misplacing. And so that was foremost top of mind today. But so then it's easy to say, Jelana, you have lost your keys again. Why do you always, it's just negative self-talk. So instead, what do I love about myself? Let's create a practice around 3 things I love about myself, because we need to retrain our brains to have positive self-talk rather than the negative. And then nighttime journaling. We touched on that a little bit. What went well today? What do I love about myself? Maybe that's an evening practice. What things can I celebrate today? Did I achieve those 3 top values? Did I connect? Did I follow my curiosity? Did I explore something new today? And improve. What's one thing that I can get 1% better on tomorrow? Maybe I only explored a tiny bit. I could actually follow that a little more tomorrow. Actually, there's another big idea in here that we're gonna talk about in a minute, where it talks about adventure and exploring more. So nourish and connecting with yourself is super important. The next big idea is practicing loving yourself. And again, the negative self-talk, we need to practice turning that around to a choice of loving ourselves and creating this new soundtrack in our head and in our subconscious. We know we're not perfect, but pointing all of our imperfections out all the time to ourselves is detrimental. When we are like, oh, you're such a airhead, you're always losing your keys. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. And I need to tell myself that I'm splendidly imperfect. There's another, a lot of people say perfectly imperfect. I like that I'm splendidly imperfect, because perfectly imperfect is, again, I don't know, it just, whatever works for you. I like saying I'm splendidly, fabulously imperfect rather than perfectly imperfect. I don't know. It's that perfect word that trips me up, I guess. But whatever works for you, we need to create a new soundtrack. If looking in a mirror and saying I love myself feels like too big of a leap, and I get that, let's start with I like myself. I like myself. I'm all right. We can start there. Challenge our thoughts. This comes from Byron Katie's work. Is it true that I'm an airhead? Not really. I do misplace my keys sometimes, but like I said, it's most often when I'm traveling and I don't have the usual place that I put my keys. I don't lose them when I'm at home. So is it true? Not really. So how do I feel when I have this belief about myself? It brings me down. It feels disempowering. And what's a way that I can turn it around? A new thought is, I hear you, but I'm going to choose to love myself. I'm going to choose to love my splendidly imperfect self. So every single time that one of those negative thoughts creeps in, we need to first notice it. That's the first baby step, because so many times it's so subconscious and unconscious that we don't notice it. But noticing when we're having those thoughts and then turn it around. I hear you. I feel you, but I'm going to choose to love myself anyway. So go ahead and take it in and appreciate yourself. I also had an I am awesome exercise where write down 25 things that make you awesome. Write down 10 things that make you awesome and read it every day. I'm awesome because I'm working on myself. I'm practicing personal growth, and I know I'm awesome because I know that it's not going to happen overnight, and I'm committed to the long game of personal growth and growing every day. The next idea is choosing fun and adventurous things in our lives. The happies and the adventures, as Alexandra Johnson calls them. Fun and play. What things make you sparkle? What things light you up? Playing with my dog lights me up. That makes me happy. So I need to do that every day. So make a list of the things that make you smile, even if you're just by yourself. Maybe talking to a grandchild adds sparkle to your day. Call them up at the end of the day. How much would they love that? Talking to grandma or grandpa on the phone. Make a list of those things that light you up and make a point to do at least one of them every single day. The other thing is that I alluded to earlier was the adventures. This requires stepping outside of our comfort zone a lot of times, because it could be something, perhaps it should be something that's a little bit radical and outrageous, something that we really want to do but feels uncomfortable. And as an entrepreneur, those are usually the things that are going to move the needle in our business, the things that are a little outside of our normal comfort zone, inside the box self. Doing these weekly lives and inviting you and anybody who wants to join me on these weekly calls is outside my comfort zone. And while I am being consistent in doing these calls and sharing with you the things I'm working on, the things I have worked on and that have worked for me, I have not, so taking this to the next level, and I'm making that commitment right now, I have not put it out there and invited other people to these calls. I really need to step outside the box of my comfort zone and shout from the rooftops that these calls are happening and invite people in to join me, because it's a way easier to just do a video and post it for you than invite people to join me on the call, to have the conversation, to be spontaneously conversing. I've always got my notes here, and that's way easier than just having to, or putting the pressure on myself. I don't have to. I just do put the pressure on myself to be some all-knowing person. But I've already said, these are things that I'm working on. I know this in my head that I just need to show up and be myself and share what I'm learning and share what's worked for me in the past. And hopefully it will help somebody. So stepping outside of our comfort zone is massively important as an entrepreneur, and also important just for our own happiness increase and our quality of life and optimizing ourselves. The next big idea is to honor our natural rhythms, to look at our daily rhythms of, so your ultradian rhythm, I just learned this word, is how we work. And 90 minutes is often an accepted time frame. Some people are 20 minutes. Maybe ADHD people can only do deep work for 20 minutes at a time. I've actually experienced this where I am writing and I am being real creative, but in about 20 minutes, I got to jump up and walk around and think about the next thing, think about what I just wrote, think about what I want to come next. I actually need to get up and move around and then come back to it, even if it's just 5 minutes, but I need that little break. So being aware of your ultradian, not ultradian, ultradian rhythm, and how your high activity, high creativity, and your low energy, low activity times, and how that ebbs and flows throughout your day. As with anything in personal growth, becoming aware is always the first step, but how you oscillate between high energy and low energy. And then if you still having a monthly cycle, how is that affecting your energy? And so these are good things to journal, to take notes about, and to know how your own monthly cycle, daily cycles are oscillating and in your energy levels, and even just the seasons of our life. If you are postmenopausal, perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, that's going to change your rhythms, your cycles. However, I think that I, even postmenopausal, still have some kind of hormonal rhythms. I don't know. It feels like it. And that's all that matters, right? What is your rhythm? Whether it's related to hormones or not. Maybe it's related to the moon. If the moon can pull a tide, it can sure affect our bodies, which are 90% water, right? The next big idea, it would be easier perhaps to have a back and forth conversation, is to unplug. We touched on this a little bit as well too. Unplug, be in silence, journaling, and in nature. Shutting off our, not just unplugging like at night and having that as part of an evening digital sunset routine, but what if we unplugged for a couple days? What if we unplugged and didn't check emails, didn't check social media? I don't know if you even want to take phone calls. Unplug for a couple of days, even one day. What would that feel like? It might feel like panic the first time, but maybe it would feel liberating. That's what I think. I haven't done it. I'm thinking about doing it, at least for a couple hours. Maybe I can integrate this idea with the digital sunset and the evening routine idea, and actually unplug for a few hours every night. Let's try it. Let's do it together. Here's the reason we need a community. I need you to help me be accountable to my digital sunset and unplugging for a couple hours every night. Let's do it together. What effect does doing these things, journaling, journaling about, if you never know what to journal about, sometimes that's something that trips people up about journaling. I don't know what to write. Write about how you're feeling in that moment, but also in this season of life. How am I feeling in general? What's going on in my mind and my body? Here's where we can really get granular with all of this work, because like I said, it's always starts with awareness. So journaling about how you're feeling and what's going on in your body, with your rhythms, your cycles, the moon, like what's going on right now. I've been so low energy the last couple of days. Where's the moon? What's my cycle doing? What else is happening in my life? And then if you don't write it down, you think you'll remember, but we don't. So write it down. And then as we look back over maybe a 3-month period, you'll start to recognize patterns and your own rhythms and your ebbs and flows and how you oscillate with what's going on in your life. And then what effect does keeping that journal have? Is it benefiting you to express yourself, to express your desires, your fears? How is that affecting you and your psyche on a daily basis? Pretty profoundly is my guess. And then nature, go outside, even just for a couple of minutes. So many of us are electronically addicted and overstimulated and deficient in nature deficient. So even if I just go out in the yard and hang out with the flowers and the bees and the birds that are flying around and in the bird bath, even just doing that is feeding my soul and nurturing myself. So getting outside in nature, journaling, unplugging, and sitting in silence. We often are uncomfortable with silence. And as a coach, one of the most powerful tools to a coach is the awkward silence, and just allowing the client to process, be it a question that I've asked or an idea that's come up, or just their own ramblings. But whenever there's a silence, we tend to want to jump in with our own thought, our own, we want to help. We want to jump in with our own solution. And that's not always the right way. We need to give each other the opportunity to process ourselves. So allowing an awkward silence, it's really golden. And it's one of the hardest things to do. Sitting in silence with ourselves can also feel uncomfortable. But if you just try it for once isn't going to be enough, try it for a 30-day challenge. There are people who live their lives in 30-day challenges, and just set yourself a 1-week challenge, even that you're going to sit in silence for 1 minute. This is just now occurring to me. How about if this is super hard, sit in silence for 1 minute today. Tomorrow, sit in silence for 2 minutes. The next day, sit in silence for 3 minutes. Come on over to my Facebook group. I would love to do this challenge. Actually, it's just coming to me. Let's do it together. Come over to Personal Growth for New Female Entrepreneurs on Facebook. Ask to join the membership. Not membership. You can ask to join the membership too. Ask to join the group, which is a free group. It's not a paid membership. And let's do that together. Let's commit to sitting in silence an extra minute each day. By the end of a week, we will have 7 minutes of sitting in silence, but we will have worked up to that. So yeah, let's do it. Personal Growth for New Female Entrepreneurs. I'm going to put that in there and we're going to do it together. So what's the next big idea? The next big idea is that you and I are enough. The dragon of I am not enoughness, not thin enough, not creative enough, not healthy and not young enough, not old enough, not enough what? Those are our dragons that we need to slay. If we start our day again as part of our morning routine, I am enough. I am good enough. I am creative enough. I am consistent enough. That's another one of my things is consistency on social media and in my business has been a struggle for me. I'm not going to lie. And while I am becoming more and more consistent, I need to know that I am good enough to be consistent. I am capable enough of being consistent. Say it, journal it, practice it, and eventually we will become it. It's not an overnight transformation. Personal growth takes time. And you can shorten that curve with a coach and with a community. So if you want to join our new Entrepreneurial Women's Collective, I don't mean for this whole talk to sound like a sales page, but I believe in it. I believe that we are better together. But you can do that with the free group too. So come on over. Don't lose yourself when trying to prove yourself. Here's a great quote. In pursuit of our actualization, in pursuit of our success, in pursuit of our optimal living, sometimes we miss the daily joys of just life, daily life. And that's what I'm talking about when we choose work over taking that walk. If you have an appointment, a meeting or something that cancels, do you automatically think, sweet, now I have an extra hour to get more work done? Or do you go, sweet, I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to go do something that serves me and is caring for me. I would suggest that we use that time to nurture ourselves. It's a bonus hour or 15 minutes anyway. And I think we would, the act of self-care and the practice of having that blueprint in place where it's like a rule. If a meeting cancels, then I will take a walk. I will do something that feeds your soul. And taking a walk outside always comes to my mind first. I will just go fix myself a cup of tea and take these 15 minutes to sit in silence. I'm going to go out to my car and sit in silence because that's what I need right now. And because that's my bonus time when I just had this meeting cancel or end earlier than expected or whatever that is that buys you a little extra time. How do you use that extra time? Do you fill it with more work or do you use it for self-care? I would suggest using it for self-care. So to recap, let go of the body image baggage and just trust yourself, trust your body, love yourself, love the miracle that your body is. Say yes to yourself. This is number 2. Say yes to yourself and treat yourself well. Build it into your day. Number 3 is know your energy needs, what drains you. Let's plug up those drains. And if having that little nagging to-do list drains you because it's always there and you need to free up space in your mind to be more creative, then make that incomplete list and complete all of those little tasks that are incomplete so that you can declutter your mind and free up some space for your own creativity. Number 4 is self-care as a way of life. Integrate into your schedule every day those self-care things that are going to cultivate a mindset of self-acceptance. Number 5 is start and end your day optimally with setting your intentions, journaling about what do you intend to feel, and what are your top 3 priorities, and what do you love about yourself. Start your day that way and end it with what are you celebrating? What went well? Then number 6 is practice loving yourself, rewire your brain so that anytime you become aware of those negative thought patterns, rewire your brain by immediately saying, I hear you, you're perfectly imperfect, you're splendidly and fabulously imperfect, and I choose to love you anyway. Let's try saying that to ourselves. I'm actually feeling better about myself just by talking all of this out. So I encourage you to give it a try. Number 7, the happies and adventures. Do things every day, at least something that makes you happy and makes you smile. Call a friend, call your grandchildren, play with your dog, swing on a swing at the park. When's the last time you did that? It feels really good and it makes you happy. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Take a grandkid with you and then they just think you're playing with your grandchild. Pretend some other kid in the park is your grandchild and swing anyway. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If it makes you sparkle and makes you happy, go do it. But the other thing is adventures. Step outside your comfort zone and think of your new business, of the book you're writing, of the retirement plan that you have, of any new transformation that you're undertaking in your life. If it feels scary, try to reframe it as an adventure. Step outside your comfort zone as an entrepreneur. It is essential and a must, but even as a human being, it keeps us alive. It keeps us feeling energized and excited about life every day. Even if you only can plan an adventure once a week, that's okay. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, but we just need to intentionally plan for being outside of our comfort zone. If we look at all of the challenges that come with that as happening for us rather than to us, asking better questions so that we can find and become aware of better answers. Unplugging, sitting in silence, journaling, and being in nature more than we currently are. 1% better, guys. That's what we need to be, only 1% better. And at the end of a whole year, we would be 365% better. So 1% better every day. And remember, the last idea is to remember that you are enough. I am enough. And that we need to trust ourselves. Trust that we're enough. I'm going to commit to taking time out for myself, increasing the time of silence by 1 minute every day. I'm going to commit to inviting more people to join me. I'm not sure what next week's topic is going to be, but join me. It's going to be great. Whatever it is, it's going to help us grow. So let's do it together, and I'll see you then.